Now it's time for On Point, where we speak to experts to delve deeper into the biggest news stories in the spotlight right now. A task force established by the International Atomic Energy Agency was in Japan for a few days last week to review the safety of the planned release of treated water from the tsunami-damaged Fukushima nuclear power station. The Japanese government announced its basic policy last year to gradually discharge this water into the ocean. It requested the IAEA's assistance to ensure it occurs in line with international safety standards and without harming public health or the environment.
But despite that, South Korea, China, some other of Japan's neighbors, and some fishing communities in Japan are strongly protesting Tokyo's plan. For more, we're joined by Professor Ramon Pacheco Pardo, Professor of International Relations at King's College London. Good morning, Professor.
Hello, good morning.
So the IAEA will publicize in April its view of Japan's plan. So what do you expect them to say?
Well, the IAEA has been saying for years now, really, that the plan to release this treated water is safe, that it doesn't have any environmental impact. So I would assume that they will keep the same line. We have seen that they have already released an really extensive press release saying that in their view the plan is sound and that there are no risks for human health. Of course, not everybody agrees with this, but at least this is the official position of the IAEA for now, and I would expect them to confirm this position when they release the full report in a couple of months.
Now, the task force insists that its review will be conducted objectively and based on science. Do you think that will be enough for the international community and the Japanese public as well to really understand what needs to be done here and, more importantly, say, OK, let's go ahead with it?
Well, I think we should make clear that obviously it is Japanese fishermen who are most concerned because it is their livelihoods that are going to be affected by the release. We have also seen some Japanese former prime ministers, for example, led by Koizumi Junichiro, also saying that there is a risk still going on from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. And of course, Korea, China, Alaska as well, other countries also in East Asia. I don't think they will feel that this is something safe to do regardless of what the IAEA says, because obviously we're talking here about a nuclear power plant, and we're talking about treated water in which not all elements will have been eliminated. This is why it is controversial. So I wouldn't expect the reservations that many communities and many countries have to go away, regardless of what the report may say.
Now, Professor, the task force is made up of, independent and highly recognized experts from around the world, including China and South Korea. So how significant is it that experts from China and South Korea have been included in the panel?
I think it is significant because in the beginning it wasn't clear that the IAEA and the Japanese government were going to agree with this. There was this perception by both of them that they had enough expertise, that the IAEA is sufficiently independent to carry on its own study. But of course, there was pressure coming from other countries, Korea and China that you mentioned. There are also European experts, an American expert as well, that saying, well, I mean, we need to check by ourselves because this is going to affect the international community. This is not only about Japanese communities, Korea or China. It is going to affect many other countries as well. So I think it is a political victory for the countries that wanted their independent experts to be part of this task force. And I do think that this will bring more credibility to the process. I don't think the politics will go away, but at the very least there will be more credibility to the whole process than there would have been otherwise without these experts.
Yeah, I think there would have been a lot of complaining in Seoul and Beijing if South Korean and Chinese experts hadn't been involved, considering they're so close in terms of geographically speaking. The IAEA says it's scientifically and it's a fair technical organization, fully transparent, independent from any external factors. Generally speaking, a lot of international organizations kind of have a bad reputation these days. As far as the IAEA goes, is it generally considered to be the case that the agency is straight down the line?
I think that compared to other organizations, it is more independent. Having said that, no international organization is free from politics. We have seen how the organization has been criticized by Iran, has been not independent, of course, North Korea, but we have also seen sometimes European countries and even the US complain of the organization, arguing that it wasn't being fully transparent, that it was being affected by the decisions being taken by the countries that they were, and the politics in the countries that they were investigating. And I think this is going to be no different. It is a fairly independent organization, but of course there are going to be accusations that it's being affected by the fact that it is in Japan at the invitation of the Japanese government. So it would be very difficult for the IAEA to come up with any statement that is highly critical of the Japanese government or even the Japanese experts working in the Fukushima power plant. But I would say, as I started in the beginning when answering this question, that we can assume that it is more independent than other organizations because this has been the case in the past.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your insights. Talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.